Big thumbs down on that. I would not recommend that to anybody. Well, howdy doody, folks, and welcome back to the Creeping Swerve channel. Today, I wanted to take a walk through what could be a controversial topic for some, and I'm not trying to make it one, so I don't want it to be approached as such, but I know some people will take some of the things I say here potentially out of context or the wrong way. What I want to talk about is the high demands that as high gain players we have to expect from our gear, and how important it is to know the capabilities of gear when you are buying it specifically for high gain things. So just to iterate on what I mean, if I'm playing a strat into a head rush core, which I am playing a strat into a head rush core myself, if I'm doing that with a EMG pickup loaded strat and using a really high gain PV amp clone, I'm putting more stress on my processor than you are if you're using a single coil pickup into a Blues Junior and you barely have the gain turned up. The reason is input levels and complexity of the gain in the clipping and things like that. And that extends further than into these multiprocessor units, which is what brings me to where I'm going with this conversation today. I was playing on my couch with my Head Rush core, and I was listening through my studio monitor headphones, the closed back with the big puffy circles on them, right? And those can make your ears hot. They're not comfortable after a long period of time playing. So I decided that I wanted to try some in-ear monitors and a wireless in-ear system. But I didn't want to spend a lot on that. And this is where this might get a little bit controversial, is that I don't think all budget gear is high gain friendly because of the demands of high gain signal chains. So I bought these Zero 2 dynamic driver in-ear headphones, and I bought the Joyo JW07 wireless transmitter for IEMs and things like that. And this just says it's a digital wireless system. I believe this could actually work with other things. I could potentially hook this up to, like, plug the transmitter end into my guitar and the receiver end with a 3.5 millimeter cable into the audio input of something else. And I think that might be part of the downfall of this product, is it's transmitting and receiving at a more broad general level than maybe something that was made for guitar frequencies. And the reason I say that is, one, this box does not mention guitars anywhere on it, right? Or music. It just is a wireless receiver and transmitter system that happens to use a 1/4-inch plug and a 3.5 millimeter headphone plug on the other end. So here's my story. I set up some presets using my good studio monitors. Everything sounded great. I was happy, but my ears were a-sweating. So purchased these things for cheap off Amazon. They arrived very quickly, as Amazon always tends to do. I charged this fully and found the rubber tips that fit best on this and got everything together, plugged it into the back of my Head Rush core with my newly made presets that I knew I liked, and everything sounded shrill, thin, out of phase, staticky, fizzy, just every bad sound you can think of. Right. So I'm like, crap, I have to narrow down what this is. It's either the signal chain through the core, which I was using a very simple signal chain. A lot of times I will just use an overdrive pedal into an amp into an IR, or I will use a real pedal outside of the unit into the unit, and then an amp and then an IR. And I know that it wasn't my signal clipping because you can set your input trim levels and your output trim levels and everything. And I usually hover between -6 and -3 decibels. So I went and I just double checked everything. I even went to the Headrush Facebook channel and was asking there. And, everyone just suggested the same things I had pretty much already tried. And that was check all your input levels. Those were all fine. So were the outputs to the headphones and to the receiver. So I was like, well, that's kind of odd. So the next thing I did was I plugged my studio headphones back in, my closed backs, and everything sounded fine again. So we can rule out the Headrush, right? And we can rule out my initial headphones. The biggest difference, though, is that this unit was made to plug into the output of the unit, whereas I was plugging headphones into the headphone jack. So I got a 1/4-inch adapter for my headphones and plugged them into the output of the core, and everything still sounded fine. So it's still narrowed down to one of these two items being the problem. So I plugged these into the headphone output. While they don't sound the best, not as good as my much better, more expensive studio quality headphones, they didn't sound anywhere near as bad as what I was hearing. So that narrowed it down to this receiver, this Joyo receiver. And while I think that this might work for people that are playing low gain stuff or single coil guitars or even just regular humbuckers that are not active and things like that, and using delays maybe and reverbs, less complex guitar signals, we'll say, that are not as compressed as a super high gain signal, this is leaving no headroom, right? This is taking all that power out of the core and just squishing it. Imagine a hose trying to squeeze all the water that it has in it into a straw. That's what I believe is happening with this. So I'm making this video today to try and hopefully help some other high gain players understand a couple things here. One, what we're doing is very complex, and high gain sounds, while most people that are not playing them think it's just noise, it's not. It's very complex clipping, asymmetrical clipping, gain staging, and there's a lot to it that you guys that are watching this still at this point already know. And I think when we're putting that much into the sound, we have to consider how we're monitoring that sound, how we're getting to that sound, and the quality of what we're monitoring it with, and if we're even hearing what a unit like the Headrush is actually putting out. So what I'm finding is that some of the cheap stuff on Amazon is going to work fine for some people and many people, but for some of us it might not. And I don't want anyone to think I'm advocating for just buying expensive gear, because that's also not what I'm doing. I'm advocating for understanding what you need and buying the gear that's going to work best for that. So for me, what's going to work best is saying, never mind to wireless. I will remain wired and just get some IEMs that I can extend the wire on and use those. Because for what I'm doing and what I would like to hear, that's what's going to work best for me. It may not be what's best for you. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit and maybe help you guys understand that the budget stuff isn't always going to work for what you need, but sometimes it will. And real quick, I guess we'll hear that guitar tone that I was working on, one of the presets I had made. And grab my Fender here that I got, and we'll So yeah, that's the Headrush Core has amazing sounds in it. You just got to know how to monitor them. That goes for all these multi effects units. There's a lot of them out now. They all sound great. They really do. Even the cheaper multi effects units sound really good. It's monitoring them that makes a big difference. If you're making a preset, you should monitor it the same way you're going to be listening to it as you play. So if you're using an FRFR as a studio monitor or a stage monitor, that's how you should be making your preset. If you're wearing headphones when you're doing it, when you're playing and listening, that's how you should be making your preset. If you're using a real cab and a power amp with your modeler, that's how you should be making your presets, because every time you change how you listen to it, you're changing how you're hearing it, and even the modeler isn't changing. So I think that the point is too, on top of the knowing your gear's limitations and knowing what you're using it for, is that I think that everybody just needs to know what it is that they're trying to do. And once you have a base understanding of that, you can save yourself a lot of time, money, heartache, and trouble getting the exact sound you want without working too hard to get there and spending too much money. Because if you keep buying budget headphones and you're not understanding that it's because the music you're playing, those headphones are, none of the budget headphones might work for monitoring that. That's where you're going to have some issues, I think. And yeah, I thank you guys all for stopping by. I think it was a great chat, and I hope to do it again soon. Let me know in the comments your experience with, budget gear, if it worked for you, didn't work for you. Maybe I did something wrong with how I was using them. I don't know. I couldn't find anything. I tried real hard to figure it out, but it seemed to just be that Joyo transmitter. So yeah, big thumbs down on that. I would not recommend that to anybody. Buy it if you want, but I think it's probably going to suck for you. You can tell Joyo I said that. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for coming by the Creeping Swarf channel.